Wow. um, I think at some point earlier in the series, I said one of the kind of interesting things about an odyssey like this is you wake up in the morning and you just don't know how a day is going to unfold. You have absolutely no idea. And we've had a bunch of good days. And then we had today. It was a very dramatic day for us. We were feeling really grateful about how everything turned out, but wow. So started in the campground, and almost right from the campground, we had this beautiful little drive down the, dirtish road.
Through the Cascade Mountains.
Well, even before that, even before we got to the highway, like through that hole, and the sun was shining, and this beautiful trees and stuff.
Yeah, so Lightning Lake, that was real camping. I enjoyed that. Provincial park camping is just different. So, how was your night at Lightning Lake?
Pretty good, not bad.
Not bad at all. It's good. I think we slept pretty good. We had a fun evening learning about frogs and just hanging out at the lake, seeing deer.
And salamanders and toads.
Yes, the whole amphibian crowd. Had a good sleep. It was a nice campsite. Kids screaming in the morning, that's what they do. And now we're off to
Vancouver.
Pretty cool. Talk to you from the road. Just beautiful fresh air here. The whole area is gorgeous. The lake itself was really nice. And the ride in here is fantastic. Nice. This bike likes to hop. Alright, there we go. Now on asphalt again. Sue's on asphalt. Excellent. Whew. It's cool, a little cool. You do a temperature check. But what a beautiful, sometimes my thing doesn't want to cycle through stuff, so it's in that mood. What a beautiful morning, what a beautiful day. I'm riding with one fear. I dropped my helmet. I let my helmet fall a little bit. Not too far, but enough to knock the GoPro off the side. Which I then stuck back on. But it's a little, I should have gotten a new sticker thing, which I have, and done it from scratch, but we were ready to go, and I didn't want to do it. So part of me is worried that when we get to speed today, this little thing is going to blow off my head.
And then we got onto the highway. We took a left, and I think within 2 minutes, it was raining.
Yeah, oh yeah. And
then it was windy, and it was like nasty, and just getting to Hope was a bit of a challenge.
So, an unexpected plot twist. Just about maybe 2 minutes. I mean, we just pulled out of the campsite not long ago, and it was sunny and gorgeous. And it feels like this is just 2 or 3 minutes later, and it's starting to rain, and the wind is blowing. It feels like we're heading into a bit of a storm. A couple of things. First of all, we're getting some cool fog action up in the mountains, which is really kind of neat. But the second thing I want to mention is just, it's taken over where it's left off yesterday with a lot of these high-speed corners. And we were having a blast with them yesterday. But of course now we got a little bit of rain coming down. Just enough, no standing water, nothing like that. In fact, you can sometimes see a dry track and a bit of a damp track. So it's just really enough to make the road damp. But when you're going at a pretty high speed and then doing these tight corners, that just doesn't make it, you just don't feel as good as I was talking about how great it was when you knew everything was dry and you had great grip. When you're not sure, you're a little more tentative, and it's a little more, I won't say anxiety producing, but you certainly have to be feeling your grip as you go and being ready to adjust. So it requires more attention. must report the conditions have deteriorated. Rain's a little heavier. It's still not what I call heavy rain, but it's enough that the roads have gone from being damp to being wettish. No standing water, or at least none to speak of yet. But we've certainly got full wet roads now, meaning we have to be even more careful. I am very happy to report, just a few K away from Hope, that we are we've come out of the rain. Yeah, that's the one we're gonna take. At least for a little bit. It's a bit of a break in the rain. The roads here are pretty much dry. It's been nice because it's been I could hardly see out the visor. Curvy roads, starting to be standing water. It was getting sudden wind gusts out of nowhere. Yeah, we're gonna be ready for that first coffee of the day. We've earned it.
Anyway, we got to Hope, and we were feeling positive. The weather had broken. We got our coffee, shot a little video. We made it. Coffee, muffins, Hope indeed. Got through the tough part of the day. We hope it's the tough part of the day. We'll see. But so far, so good.
All right, Hope, British Columbia. Hope gave us a nice warm coffee. Dry space for a second. Got a chance to look at the weather, and what we found was that there's certainly a nasty band of weather, but the good news is it's heading east, and we're heading west, and it's kind of a skinny band, so we should punch through it. We may have a little bit more rain and yuckiness, but we should punch through it and then have what looks like mostly a cloudy day, which is fine.
So we left Hope.
Heading for heading for Chilliwack for lunch.
Chilliwack, flying along, things are going well. And then so just to do a bit of color, it was really windy, and as Sue was saying, she saw these signs. I didn't even see these signs, but about crosswinds, beware of crosswinds, and there certainly were, and so we were being buffeted all over the place. Off and on, and then at any rate, as we were going and our rate of speed kind of increased, I started feeling a similar feeling at first, and I was just like, what's going on? And I was having trouble keeping up with Sue.
And luckily I quickly noticed that he was falling behind.
It was really weird, and I wasn't sure what was going on. Was it the wind? Was the bike? And then it felt to me like the front end of the bike wasn't right, which was scaring me a little bit. But I was still in this indecisive mode, and then my bike started flashing this red light at me, and there just happened to be a spot to kind of pull off that was better than the rest, but it still wasn't good.
We mentioned the good luck we've had on this trip. We've just run into a big dose of bad luck on a busy highway. I could feel the bike acting really weird. Like it was feeling bizarre in the front, and then luckily this band of red lights started flashing at me, so I pulled it over, and I could feel the bike was low. The kickstand wouldn't even go down right, so eventually I checked it out, and my back tire is completely flat. Not only completely flat, but it's got the band down the middle is completely worn, like something I don't understand. Look at that. Totally worn here. And I'm trying to pump it up. Man, feel that, babe. That's right down to the belt. Oh my goodness. I have no idea how that would happen. So I am pumping it up a bit. Got an air pump, but it's supposed to go to 36, 5.5. I think this is going to be a CAA thing. Frickin' heck. right, so we're on the side of One West, our friend for a lot of this journey. Tell you, that was weird. When we were riding, we were getting up to speed, and as we were getting up to speed, the front end felt a little weird. It felt a little loose, and I wasn't quite sure. It's very windy, and I wasn't quite sure if it was just wind buffeting or what was going on. But then it was getting worse and worse, and I've got this little thing on my dash that was starting to flash red. So I'm like, okay, time to pull over. And luckily Sue was paying attention. She saw me put my blinker on, so she pulled over. Otherwise, it gets really scary when the person in back has to pull over and the person in front doesn't see it and takes off. And then at some point they look back and that other person's gone and they don't know where. And when that happens, by the way, what you probably would have done would be pull over for a while to see if I just had to pull over to do something and then I come back. And if I didn't come long enough, then she would start thinking about how to get her butt back here, which isn't easy when it's on a highway. You got to find an overpass and come back and yada yada. Yeah. So luckily she saw it. She pulled over as well.
And I thought
And I thought he just lost the camera off his GoPro off his
yeah,
helmet.
which I had been worried about. It was on my mind because it had fallen off, and I just kind of stuck it back on. And I'm like, I got to do that right. And it was so windy that I thought it was going to blow off.
Was it.
And that was So no doubt, I was distracted by all that as well. Mm-hmm. And but anyway, I thought it was the suspension. I thought it was something really serious. I thought the bike is in big time trouble, and Suze was kind of waiting for me because she thought it was the GoPro or something, and she was like, what's going on? And so I had to go up to her and just say, hey, no, this is serious. We're not going anywhere for a bit. So anyway, I was going over 110 or something while this shredded tire was deflating, and that's what was causing my bike to go like it was, and so it could have been really bad because that was a fast highway. It's 2 lanes. It's a lot of truckers and it's a lot of people going really fast. It's a small shoulder, and if you would have dropped your bike, you would have been in trouble in that place. And so anyway, I didn't. So it ended all. We kind of did the right stuff, and we got pulled off and kind of got together and thought things through a little bit and called CAA, which turned out to be really good because I said, the bike ain't going nowhere. We need to flip it, basically, and so we need CAA. And
a guy actually stopped on his motorcycle on this busy highway in a spot where he didn't have much on the other side of that concrete.
Still on the highway. So we actually had a Good Samaritan guy on a motorcycle pull over, which was really dangerous because at least where we are, there's about a 10-foot shoulder, I would say. But he pulled where there was no shoulder. Very little, up the road a bit. Traffic whizzing by, and he just came trudging towards us. We're like, what the heck? And he had a repair kit, so he thought maybe I had a puncture or something, and he was going to help us repair the tire and get back on the road. But it's beyond repair. So once he had a look at it, he agreed it's beyond repair and sent on his way. We got a picture, so really cool that he would offer, and he got back on the road okay. So we both feel good about that. We were a little worried.
We were worried about him.
But yeah, decent guy.
that was really neat, and it's going to be a theme for the day, actually, that we ran into so many good people, really? I think, as a function of that day. So he's one of them. We don't know his name. No, we think a German accent, Eastern European accent anyway. Thank you. Should you ever see this?
Then the tow truck driver.
Well, yeah, and so first of all, we interacted with the CAA person, which was really difficult because they really want to pinpoint where you are to kind of figure out the situation, and we didn't know other than we'd left Hope. It felt to me like 5 or 10K out of Hope. It turned out maybe it was 20, something like that. And but they want specific, like, did you cross any streets? And then they ask, can you get your coordinates? And I said, yeah, I can from our nav system. But then I read them the coordinates, and they're like, that doesn't make any sense. And, So anyway, it was frustrating because this was all happening with traffic whizzing by really loud. I could barely hear her on my phone, but she was very patient. walked me through things, and then ultimately said, okay, they're going to get a tow truck. Told me eventually what that tow truck's name was, where the company Reliable Towing. Yep. But she said it's now 110. The CAA guaranteed or whatever that it would be there by 3:10, and I'm like, okay, that's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
What can we do? But we were good with everything. But we had to wait for a long time for the
Then
tow
you
truck.
got something from the towing company saying it would
Yeah.
be 2 to 3 hours.
Oh yeah. So they
Yeah.
said at least 2 or 3
At least,
hours, and we later found out that the guy that came from Vancouver.
From Burnaby.
No, he was asked to go
Oh.
back to Burnaby, but he'd come from Vancouver, and there were only like 3 flatbeds around, and you have to have that for a motorcycle. So yeah, it was at least 2 hours, I bet. And so while we were waiting, by the way, an interesting thing is there was a bunch of classic cars that were going by, like cars from the 50s and ZZ Top cars and all this kind
Really
of stuff.
cool ones.
At one point, a guy with a truck went by and he had a 1965 white Corvette with red and white and red mix, just like I always liked 65 Vets. It goes by, and yeah, and so that was something. Watching some of those things go by kept us a little bit entertained. Yeah, otherwise, we just kind of hung out.
We just,
Yep.
talked about how we were going to go from here, and how much it's going to delay things.
Problem solving stuff. And so we knew, by the way, we'd already asked the CAA person to tow us to Chilliwack, that we'd find a place in Chilliwack where we could get the tire put on. And so Sue found a place. And then we're going to mention this place because it was called
Old School Motorcycles.
Old School Motorcycles. And Sue found the website and had a very good rating for people that had
I
been
didn't
there.
go very deep into the site.
We were on the side of a buzzing highway, and so that's what we said. We want it delivered to Old School Motorcycles. Again, one of the weird things with motorcycles is you get yourself in this position where, like, at one point, he's like, okay, get your bike right by the thing, and he's like, okay, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and we're going to run up this angled steel ramp, and we're going to get your bike up to that point, and then you're going to hold the brakes so that I can then attach some cables to hold it up. Yeah, I'm like, okay, are we now? All right. And they want to hold it totally upright, which feels weird. When I walk my bike, I lean it a little into me because it makes it feel like I've got control then. And when it's upright, I feel like I'm about to lose control. So anyway, I have to get used to that. And then he's just like 1, 2, 3, and you go and you get it done. So we got it up there. I held the brake, and he's like, "That's good enough." And okay, so from that point, of course, we're still 30K outside of Chilliwack, which is where he's going to tow us to. Sue, of course, has to ride her bike. I offered.
Well, I chose, Steve did offer, I chose to ride it myself.
Yeah, I offered to ride her bike. Now, the fact is, I'm not super comfortable on her bike. Her bike doesn't really fit me. It's strange. It's strange. I mean, I would certainly have done it. But it would have been a challenge for me. I would have to get used to it, yeah. So I'm in the tow truck with Dude. Dude takes off. I know Sue's behind us. And I'm like looking in the rear view, and we're around a corner somewhere. I'm like, what happened? Like, she got...
But it was safe for you guys to go, but not for me.
Oh,
so,
no, fully. I wanted you to be fully careful, but it was kind of killing me because I couldn't. And it was very curvy, and so you don't see much. And then you get a bit of a straightaway in the hill, and I'd be looking back to see if I could see her anywhere. And it was a long time before I could see in the rear view, at least 5 minutes of riding. And then at one point we slow up. And Dude, the tow truck driver's like, okay, I just came by here the other way, and there was no slow up here, so this is fresh. Whatever happened just happened. And as we get to the front, oh my goodness, it's the truck with the Corvette. Somehow, either when it was wet or it was the wind or he fell asleep, I don't know, he went off the side, and the truck jackknifed, and the Corvette trailer turned this way. I don't know. The Corvette was on its side on the trailer. And I was like, oh.
I didn't notice any marks on the road.
Oh, and so I was thinking afterwards, when Susan and I were talking about this afterwards, like, you feel like you're having a bad day, We felt kind of like we were having a bad day. That dude had a bad day. I mean, he like, woof. We go along and we get to Chilliwack, and then dude's driving to the address of Old School Motorcycles, and he's like, it's residential, it's very residential, and he's like, I don't know of any motorcycle dealer in here. I don't think there's any in here. And then he looks up ahead and he goes, oh, I guess there is in a garage. And so it's
Of
literally
somebody's house.
it's literally a dude's garage. It says Old School Motorcycles over the top, and he's working away. He's got 2 or 3
He's got
motorcycles up
everywhere. 2 layers of them.
yeah, he's got them up on things, and he's working on Sunday. He's got the garage wide open, and we pull up with the Ducati on the back. He's coming right now. He's like, "I'm not taking that. I'm not taking that. Don't leave that here." and so I chat with him, and I tell him about the tire, and he's like, "I understand completely." Blah blah blah. But he said, "I can't order tires. I'm not." And he's a guy that works mostly on old school Harleys, I think, and probably has like a ton of experience with them. I think if I had an old school Harley, that's the kind of guy I would want doing the work on my bike. And he turned out to be very nice. Once he knew I wasn't going to ditch the bike on him. And he suggested Mountain View Motorsports. And we had to unload the bike, which again, uncomfortable, but at least then it's down this thing, which is a whole lot easier than running it up the thing. Got the bike parked. Got all the gear off of it. Alrighty, made it through. Hang on, I gotta turn your buttons on. There we go. Made it through this part of the ordeal. The bike is now here at Mountain View Motorsports, thankfully. And now we got a bunch of gear here, and people are telling us don't leave anything that can be stolen on your bike. So we'll get an Uber to bring the gear to our Airbnb. And by the way, it seems like we're going to be here 2 nights because nothing opens until Tuesday, and it's now Sunday. So
I don't know how long it takes them to get a tire. What a bad timing.
Yeah. So close, so close. So we're about to call an Uber. We started actually going through the process of calling an Uber, and then we figured, oh, well, let's get in touch with our Airbnb person.
Well, you got a text from her or something. Or something.
Well, I just let her know that we're gonna get an Uber. We kind of went last minute to book her room last minute, so she said she needed a bit of room to make time to make sure it was all cleaned up, and we weren't worried about getting in. Because we're hungry. but I just sent her a message that asked, could we drop off the stuff at the house? And we don't care when we get in, but is it okay if we drop off the stuff? And so she sent back something from there and said, where are you? She said we can come pick you up. And it's like, holy crow, this is just an Airbnb host people that so by the way, Nicole and Brad. Get that right? So, we're getting to know them quite well, actually. So Nicole's just like, no, it's no problem. And I said, oh, we got all these bags, and it's all everything that was loaded up. Oh, we have a truck. We'll be right there. And yeah, Nicole and Brad show up. They start loading up our stuff into the truck. They're just super, super friendly and nice, and drive us, back to their place. Like every time we have a hard day like this,
we did learn a few lessons.
We try to learn from it. And one thing is, by the way, people always say take a walk around your bike and take a look and see if anything looks wrong or unusual. And it always feels weird because when nothing is wrong and unusual, you're not sure what you're supposed to look at per se. I suspect if I had done that in hope, I would have seen something on my rear tire. Maybe it just happened between hope and whatever, but maybe it was a developing situation that I could have recognized and done something about. So one lesson that we have is we're going to try to do better checks of our bike and learn to do that and regularly do that. Other lesson learned, we have to learn to use our comm system in our Senna, because that was a situation where we could have talked to each other and let each other know what was going on. And we just haven't bothered playing with them too much. We haven't used them at all this trip.
We don't really like them that much. We just knew that they would be a good safety thing for the trip.
Yeah, and they would come in useful. And
They
so we
would've.
have to find a way of using them on our terms, and we know we can. We just have to look into it a little more. So that's a lesson learned. We said the simple thing, like if this happens, if she didn't see me and she went up the road, that we're gonna have a protocol now of stop and look at your phone, look for a text, and it's to make sure we can communicate with each other and say, hey, I'm okay, I'll be down the road in a bit, stay where you are, or not, in a case like today. So a big lesson learned for me is trust your intuition about the bike. I felt the bike wasn't right, and I kept riding too long. It could have been really, really bad. If I'd pushed it a little bit further, and it basically took the bike screaming at me to pull over, for me to pull over. So that's a big lesson learned for me. And when the bike doesn't feel right, pull over and figure it out. Bigger meta lesson, we're feeling lucky. We're feeling like,
Could have been a lot worse.
Could have been a lot worse. I mean, not just dude with the Corvette worse. Could have been a lot worse. Could have been worse financially. Could have been worse psychologically. Could have been worse physically. Could have been really bad. And so the Odyssey's we're spending a couple days in Chilliwack. Cool.
And we're going to enjoy them.
We're going to enjoy them. we feel gratitude. So all cool. Dramatic day. I feel it deep in my bones. Actually, it was a very dramatic day, but cool to be on the other side. Lessons learned, growing as riders.
Our good loved ones.